Hello and welcome to Media Lit, where we treat each piece of media like great literature. I'm your host, Randy Elaine, and joining me, as always, is the one and only ultimate girl dad, Kris Ingersoll. Kris, how you doing today?
So good, buddy. Returning to one of the absolute core properties for our brand tonight and thrilled to do it. How are you?
Phenomenal. I mean, I don't want to take the words out of your mouth, but we're really going into the heart of our brands tonight.
hmm
And Kris, it's got to be done. But do you know what else has got to be done?
Talk to me, Goose.
Writing into media.slash.lit to tell us what our next
Mhm.
episode should be. Kris, anything else folks should email us over there?
I mean, listen, it's a dangerous business. Podlings, emailing your favorite podcast.
Mm,
You hit the keyboard. If you don't keep your fingers, you never know what you're going to say. But I promise there's nothing you can say to us that will embarrass you or turn us off. We would love to hear from you about anything to do with Media Lit. Got an opinion on something we've chatted about? Share it with us. Want to assign us some homework, something to watch, listen to, or read? We would love to do that. So come over to the inbox. It's open. We promise adventure awaits.
Thank you for that, Kris. That was beautiful. But before we head down to the land down under, we're not going to do it alone tonight. We've got one of our favorite guests. It is the wonderful Timm Freitas of the Garden of English, a fellow English teacher, an incredibly talented educator and podcaster. And every time he brings his special brand of insight to us, it's a top episode. We've done some Batman, we've done some Edgar Allan Poe, and now we're here to talk about a shared favorite. But Timm, you recently moved across the country. You dodged a massive snowstorm here on the East Coast. How's life treating you in your new home?
I will tell you, I wish that I moved to Vegas eons ago. And it's funny because a lot of people know me and my ideals, and they're like, "Why would you ever go to Vegas?" Because it's titled like Sin City and whatnot. And besides what people typically think of as Vegas, which is just that strip, you go a mile outside of it, and it is such a community-oriented place. And it doesn't hurt that with 5 kids, it's actually about 25 to 30% cheaper to live out here. So that has helped things a lot as well. Weather-wise, it's been great as well. When it was 65 to 70 degrees in the middle of December, and my parents were telling me how it was 18 degrees, I was like, "Wow, these temperatures are real bad out here." We got down to about 62. It does get a little bit cold, though. Sometimes it got into the 40s, and, wow, there was a little bit more rain this year than other years, but, um, being from Massachusetts, when people are like, "It's cold," I'm like, "Please, this is shorts weather." I have been told, though, that I have 2 years of remembering what it's like in Massachusetts, and after that, I'll become rather wimpy myself, but that's okay.
That's perfect. Well, at one point when a massive pine tree fell on the power lines to my house, I thought of you out in the deserts of Vegas. So,
Oh,
lo-
just real quick about Vegas, though, we do have pine trees. If I drive 15 minutes up the road, I've got a mountain that's full of pines, and we
beautiful.
actually have a lot of greenery that people don't think that we have. But I digress.
I mean, no free ads, but visit Las Vegas.
Yeah, seriously. But when you do, go outside the strip because there's so much cooler stuff to do outside of it.
Well, in addition to our visits to Sin City, Kris, where do we all get to travel to together tonight?
I was going to say a totally different environment with a desert all its own, sure, but not the paths that we'll be visiting. Of course, we're heading back to Australia to visit our friends, the Healer family. It's another Bluey episode tonight, folks. Thanks to Ludo Studios for all the wonderful things they do because we just can't get enough of this fantastic show. And when friend of the pod, Timm Freitas, said he wanted to talk Bluey, we jumped at the opportunity. Please don't forget to go back and check out past episodes where we've talked about all of the non-healer characters in one big ranking episode. We've talked individual episodes. There's plenty of Bluey content coming from these two dads. So please go back through seasons 1 and 2 to find more.
Yeah, absolutely. Always a pleasure to talk Bluey with you, Kris. Dadcore is our brand. But listen, we've had tons of opportunities to say how we feel about the Healer family, how we feel about 35 supporting characters that we ranked last spring with a massive panel. But we haven't really had a chance to go deep with Tim on Bluey. So let's dig into personal connections on Bluey at large before we shift into our core episode for today. So, Tim, you are a parent of many children of diverse ages. When did Bluey come into your life and what does it mean to you?
So we started watching Bluey as a family right when it was kind of released on Disney Plus. So I don't remember the year exactly, but probably like I don't know, like 2018ish maybe. Um, but my oldest son is 15 now. My youngest two twins are 9, and if we were talking about 2018, we're looking at 8 years ago. So my oldest
Mhm.
son would have been around 7 or 8 years old, and um, we heard of Bluey, but my sister called and told me about an episode and was like, "It's just really funny, so you should probably watch it." And we watched it, and I just started loving it because honestly, I don't know that there's a better cartoon that can do so much in so little time, except
Yeah.
for maybe Nickelodeon's version of Doug. So that's a throwback to the '90s. Chris, were you a Doug fan growing up?
Oh, yeah, I love Doug Funny, man.
Gotcha.
My
Okay.
idol.
Yeah. And so anyway, nonetheless, when I think about we were watching it as a family and we were laughing and sometimes we would get extra emotional together and my kids would love it and they were so quick and so short. I realized I was like, oh my word, I'm teaching AP Lit right now and I can probably teach just as an effective AP Lit class as I can with Bluey as I can with Crime and Punishment, which is one of my most favorite novels. Now I never taught that in AP Lit. My primary choice was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but nonetheless, my point is that I was really thinking about this and I was like, how can I use Bluey in my classroom as an educator to really convey a lot of complex things because Bluey's so incredibly complex. And then they came out with the episode called Curry Quest when I was teaching the hero's journey, and I was just like, "Oh, this is the best."
Mhm.
And so that's kind of my history there. But one other thing about it is I just love how even though my oldest is 15 now, my youngest are 9. If I say put on Bluey, there's never a complaint from any of my children. My 15-year-old doesn't care. My 13-year-old, who's this like, tough hockey player, he doesn't care. It's like, "Yep, let's watch Bluey. No problem."
That makes me so happy to hear, Tim. I have a niece and nephew, who are also teenagers who grew up with Bluey, and yeah, they're not too cool for Bluey. They
No.
still appreciate it. It may not be the center of their existence, but like you said, if my kids want to pop on an episode, they're never going to put up a fight. So love that
Yeah.
timelessness.
And actually, just one thing real quick too is that at where I currently work, we have kind of like I don't want to call it a free period. It's kind of like a study hall,
Mhm.
but teachers can choose to do other things, especially on Fridays. And on Friday, you're supposed to try to do something a little bit fun, like play Uno with the kids or something like that. And I decided that we would watch Bluey episodes, and I haven't put them on for the last 3 weeks. But sure enough, for the last 3 weeks, my kids have been like, "Why aren't we watching a Bluey episode?"
Yeah, I have used Bluey many a time in my own classroom. I'm kind of known for it to the point that I occasionally receive Bluey gifts from my students. So, Tim, it's good to know that maybe we spent 14 years apart. We're still doing well.
Love that. I think that Ludo Studios would love that. I think that they would love to know that their content has found its way into the classroom in such a deliberate way. And love how much you've shared this with your family across all ages. I also hope my daughter will not age out of Bluey as she hits her teen years. We've got a ways to go, but I really love all that, man. But I want to know more about your specific love for the show. Tell me about some of your favorite episodes or your favorite characters. What does it for you with
Yeah.
Bluey?
Just real quick about the classroom, it when I created a new session for a workshop that I ran last summer with AP Lit, AP Lang teachers, I called it "That's Kid Stuff," and I actually used Bluey, Batman, and Batman the Animated Series, which of course we've also talked about. So I
Right.
used Heart of Ice, and I used this episode from Bluey as I was like, "Look, here's what we could do to get our kids to do really cool things in our classrooms without having them to always read, cumbersome literature." Not that I don't think that's a good thing. I do
Yeah.
to kind of scaffold those skills. It's a good thing. But
Very
anyway,
cool.
favorite episodes, favorite characters. I think that my most favorite episode of Bluey, besides Curry Quest, is Granny Mobiles. Um, it. I mean, every time I watch it, I laugh so hard, especially because Muffin's supposed to be that has the persona of the cranky granny, and then gets everything that she wants for the higher price. And I just love the irony of that situation where it's like the adults couldn't really get that to happen, and then there's this little kid who's like, "No, you're gonna give me that much," and I think it's great. A couple other ones. I really like the feather wand one.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
yeah, like, and I think the reason why that one, like, I'm so enamored by it is because I was trying to figure out. I'm like, wait a second, are they just all that good at pretending together and they just know to do it? Or is this a cartoon where they are kind of like, "Oh, no, this actually was happening that time." And that's the part that's super cool for me because as I watch this family, like, every time let's be real, every time I think that I'm, like, a good dad, I go and watch an episode of Bluey, and I'm like, "Man, I suck." You know?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that that's one of the reasons why this show really does it for me, because you think about the common archetype, even from a great show from our childhood, like Home Improvement, right? Um, you think about the common archetype of a dad who's there, but who's kind of a dimwit, you know? Or you even go as far away to that stereotype as like Homer Simpson. And then you have Bandit, and you have
Mm.
this dude who loves his family so deeply, who is always willing to pretend with his kids, but he's also not perfect. And so you get to
Mhm.
see a very real picture of what a dad can and should be. I mean, that's a guy who leads his family, right? But he's not a dictator. And it's a guy who loves his kids. And you don't see that enough in especially kind of children's programming. Even if I think back to Doug, how I mentioned Doug a little bit earlier, right? Doug's dad was so passive, and then Skeeter Valentine's dad was super aggressive. In fact, the
Mm.
only like male figure in that entire show who I was like, that's a good dad, is Patty Mayonnaise dad, right? And so now we've got the show Bluey, where Bandit is one of those characters that's just consistently there, and he's so funny and he's so real. I'm just like, this rocks. I
Yeah.
also love the fact that they show Bluey and Bingo, like, walking in while they're on the toilet, and that's all that kids ever do, right? Little kids, they always find you in the bathroom. You want, like, a minute just to, like, be by yourself to just use the bathroom, and they're, like, in there and whatever, and it's just normal. Like, there are so many normal things that this children's show doesn't shy away from,
Mhm.
and I'm just like, "Wow, this is impactful." So, anyway, I love the feather wand. I loved the episode The Claw because my kids turned me into The Claw for a very long time,
Yep.
and that was really fun to kinda conceptualize. One of the episodes that, I mean, I'm sure impacted a lot of people, emotionally, but what was a little bit more pertinent for us was, the episode The Sign. Now, I don't remember when that was released in the United States, but, do you even remember, like, how many years ago that was?
It was the season 3 finale, so it's in the last 3 years. It was while I've lived here in my new house. That
Yeah.
episode wrecks me every time I watch it.
Right, and
Yeah.
I think the hardest thing for me when that came out, but the thing that I loved the most was, we started planning our move to Las Vegas in 2023. Like, it became a borderline reality, and I sold the house that I grew up in, that my dad grew up in, that his mom grew up in. And my parents had sold it to CVS, yes, the drugstore. And when I moved back, I bought it back from CVS as like a family heirloom. So I'm watching The Sign, and I'm watching like that dynamic, and I'm like, "Oh my word, this is me. This is us.
Yeah.
This is how my kids are dealing with this." And so that one really gets to me
Mm.
um in that. Um I like Takeaway.
A great
And
one.
a lot, especially because that was I love that how, like, there are just times when I just wanna, like, sit and read even a cereal box, and I'm like, "Kids, just don't get in trouble." And they're doing everything that I asked them not to, but they're doing it so innocently. And so all of these things are just so relatable.
Yeah.
And the last thing that I'll mention is the character, right? Um,
Yes.
I have to tell you that I think the most underrated character in all of Bluey is Jean-Luc. Um,
Yeah.
the
Not on this podcast, my friend. We
Yeah,
love
but
Jean-Luc
I'm
over
no,
here.
no, I know, I'm just saying though, like, in the grand scheme of things, like, when you're like, what character, like, really sticks with you? Because I love that episode where it reminds us that, you know, even though there are cultural barriers and language barriers and whatnot, we're humans, and it's okay to be human together. And in fact, it's actually pretty profitable and enriching to be human together. So when I was really thinking about that question, what character, like what other
Yeah.
characters really stick out? He always sticks out the most in my mind because of how impactful that episode was.
Dude, I love, 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 love that you said that. I keep shouting out our ranking of the top supporting characters on Bluey outside the healer family. Jean-Luc came in at number 8
Mm.
in that draft. He was high amongst everyone because of the power of that one episode. We'll get to spend a little time with Doreen later tonight, who came in at number 11. But I did want to ask you before we move on to the main event tonight, since we didn't get to rank Bluey characters with you, how do you feel about the fact that Rusty landed at number 1 overall? Is that surprising to you, or does it make sense?
So the problem is that as well versed as my family is in Bluey, and I do watch Bluey, I have only seen like 2 episodes with Rusty in it. So if you were to ask me if Rusty is like the number 1 secondary character, I'd be like, I don't know, I'd have to see a couple more episodes with him. I think he's a great sport, with the cricket episode, and
Okay.
I do love his he was the one in the army episode too,
Yep,
right?
yep.
The military episode, right? So like all of that is fine. Like he's a boy's boy who's actually in sport.
Yeah.
And so I love that. But for me, like when I think about impactful Bluey episodes and secondary characters, Jean-Luc would be my number 1. Like, and I know that
Beautiful.
like that's just how it is. So I'm not opposing it. I just don't. I'm a little bit more ignorant. My kids have seen every episode.
That's
I've
so
seen a
perfect.
lot of episodes, but sometimes it's in passing because I work a lot.
No, it sounds personal because honestly, you nailed the 2 big Rusty episodes.
Yeah.
Like you called to mind the 2 that really informed that choice. I think for most of the
Yeah.
folks who did
Yeah.
their rankings, those are the big Rusty moments. And then he is just somebody who's kind of in the background. But you're able to choose Jean-Luc on the strength of 1 episode,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
right? So really, it's just
Yeah.
more of a much more personal connection you seem to have with Jean-Luc and the way he impacted the story, as
Yeah.
opposed to a volume of content, which I think is wonderful. Tim, thank you so much for letting us walk through your personal connections with Bluey. I am stoked to get deeper into this specific episode with you. But before we do, we are going to take a quick break so that we can hear from some of our friends over at thepopbreak.com, a family that Randy and I are very grateful to be a part of, in a place that is full of fantastic podcasts. Here we go.
This is Bill Bodkin, editor-in-chief of thepopbreak.com.
And this is the Human Star Wars Encyclopedia, Amanda Rivas.
We're the hosts of Pop Break's weekly flagship podcast, Socially Distanced.
Join us every week as we discuss the latest, the greatest, and even sometimes the lamest movies, shows, and trends in pop culture.
Whether it's Star Wars, Marvel, Bridgerton, DC, or the NFL, we're talking about it on Socially Distanced.
Check out new episodes every Thursday on all your favorite streaming platforms.
Hello, I'm Daniel Cohen,
And I'm Kris Ingersoll.
and we are the hosts of the Batman by the Numbers podcast. If you're a diehard Batman fan, this is a must-listen-to podcast. We do rankings, we do drafts.
It's not just The Dark Knight that we're obsessed with, it's the whole DC universe. Tune in as we dive deep on everything James Gunn's new universe has to offer.
Yes, we do this monthly, and they drop on the 4th Friday of every month. Give it a listen.
And we are back to get down to business with tonight's Bluey episode, the great season 3 episode, Curry Quest. We're going to kick things off with a quick synopsis. This is a 9-minute episode of television, so I think I was able to keep this pretty short and sweet. But I'm excited to hear if my fellow panelists think I captured the essence of the episode. So here we go. Curry Quest. A neighborly chore serves as a call to adventure for a reluctant Bingo. Her quest promises exciting rewards, but requires her to face great physical and emotional peril. Ultimately, her journey reaches its apotheosis, and she returns to her everyday life with newfound strength and confidence. anything you'd like to add or punctuate in that synopsis, fellas?
I think you captured 6 to 8 minutes of content beautifully, buddy.
Everything that I'll add in the conversation later.
Oh,
But
nice.
I agree.
Well, fantastic then. Kris, take us into it.
All right. Yeah, I'm so excited to get into this episode. It's rare that there's such a deliberate literary framing to something that we're talking about, so this is going to be a fun one. As we get into it, I want to know from both of you what makes this a great episode of television for children and parents to share together. Tim, we'll go to you first.
Yeah, I think about the complexity of this episode and the simplicity of it at the same time. So if I ask my own children, "Hey, tell me about the quest that Bingo goes on," or if I even just say, "Hey, tell me about the quest that's in the episode," my kids will tell me, "Oh, Bingo overcame her fear of the magpie and that kind of a thing," right? But that's and I think that's what a lot of the kids will get out of it, and of course we have those stages of the quest that are narrated, the typical hero's journey for our inner Joseph Campbells, right? Or our own hero with a thousand faces or whatever. But I think the real depth that makes this so great is that there are two other characters who are also going on their own quest simultaneously with Bingo.
Yeah.
And although students, I shouldn't say just students, although children, I don't think catch that. They catch the fun with Bingo and the face paint, and they understand she's on a quest, of course. It's when I think about the quests that the adults are facing that it speaks to me as a parent and
Mhm.
as a literary scholar. And when we see those three heroes' journeys together, um, that's what I'm like, oh, that's what makes it so incredible is that we have such complexity, such layered complexity here where it's not just for the little kid who's watching Bingo go on a little curry quest. It's it's adults who have to deal with very adult fears and very adult necessities in their lives, and how it's visually represented is so full of depth that I'm just like, this
Mhm.
this is brilliant. I mean, the whole thing is just so brilliant, and I look forward to getting into even more of that as we talk about it further.
Love it. Randy, what about you, man?
Yeah, I'll have more to say shortly about like just the depth of this storytelling device, the symbolism, the imagery. There's so much to unpack here. But just on like a surface level, I really want to echo and yes and what Tim said about, watching this with kids and having there be so many layers. I was actually thinking about this episode quite a bit lately, even before I rewatched it for the episode. Um, you know, Unfortunately, we experienced a really tragic event recently where some good friends of ours lost their youngest child very unexpectedly. And it put us in a position as parents to try to have some really difficult conversations about death at a level and with a level of reality that I don't think we anticipated having to deal with so soon and so suddenly. And trying to sort that out, it really has been an ongoing journey, this step by step thing, this sort of like question and answer coming back and forth. And just sort of like these challenges of life. They're so real. Right. I'm giving an example of a really concrete tragedy, but just, like what Bingo's dealing with here, like her dad's going to be gone for 6 weeks. That is a long time. That is an eternity. We've already established what a loving and present dad he is at all times. So to imagine him being absent for so long, it is a little bit of a metaphorical sort of death. And then on a slightly lighter note, just I think the neighborliness of this episode is so beautiful in and of itself. We love the relationship with Doreen.
Hmm.
We love to see like just this physical walk through a community, to share some food, to swap some curry. Um, it's beautiful. Even, if you are living in the Western world and you are not going out of your way to try a variety of cuisine, you could very easily avoid encountering curry altogether in your life. So we've got like this neighborliness, this sense of uh, globalization, widened horizons. Bluey's always bringing up interesting and diverse like food and culture. And it's just it sparks so many fun conversations with the kids. And it's fun for me too. How about for you, Kris?
Really love all of that from both of you guys. I think you've kind of captured what makes this episode so special, for both the kids and the parents, all those layers. So I think for me, I'll zero in on just I share a ton of stories with my daughter. We've been reading literature at bedtime for a long time. She's going to be 7 at the end of May. And I've also been sharing some of my favorite other stories with her through pop culture, like
Mhm.
Avatar. And we've watched that full series, and we talk a lot about the themes that are at play. So I just love that this episode creates this mini classroom moment of
Yeah.
like, oh, what Chili's walking you through here, Kennedy, is a well-defined scholarly understanding of something called the hero's journey. I love the way this episode facilitates that conversation and allows us to talk more about why stories like these are important to us. Right? It's like this episode is a lot of fun on its own, but the conversation that it facilitates, the hero's journey, I mean, it's like core to the stories that I love best in this world. I know that's probably a common refrain, and we'll get into this further.
But
The
think about it
way
in these. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, the way this kind of a story awakens the imagination for a child, that call to adventure is
Mm.
such a big deal. So the way that, like I said, this episode allows me to talk to Kennedy about that, to talk to my daughter about it, is so surprising. You don't expect the little scholarly session on your 8-minute episode on Disney Plus of an animated show. So really grateful for that. And then this watch was particularly poignant for me. I always relate to Bandit in some way. Like, he's that dad that I aspire to be. I hope that sometimes I am, and sometimes I know I'm definitely not. I don't travel for 6 weeks at a time, thank God, but I often travel for 1 week at a time. And I'm watching this episode today in preparation for this conversation on the eve of a trip. Tomorrow morning, I'm on a flight at 6:30 and I'm out of here. It's only overnight, thank God. I'm going to Detroit and I'll be back. But I'm like watching this episode and really feeling what Bandit is feeling, because I hate leaving my daughter for any amount of time. I don't care if it's not 6 weeks. The one night is too much time away from my daughter for my taste. So, yeah, there's always, to your point, Tim, something for everybody to latch onto when you're watching, the kids and the parents. And in this case, it was particularly poignant for me to latch onto the journey that Bandit was on.
Well, yeah, let's get into the classroom, right? This is media lit after all. I think it's time for us to go there. Listen, Bluey is always brilliantly written. We always have complex themes. There are multiple layers, but it doesn't always actively call attention to the fact that it is trying to teach us something. And this episode is a little bit of an exception in that way. Chili very quickly, indirectly calls out the hero's journey right at the top. And I just want to kind of throw this question of what is the role of the hero's journey in this episode out there, because we could easily do 6 hours going step by step through every stage of the hero's journey, a la Joseph Campbell, a la Christopher Vogler, however we want to come at this. But I think let's open the floor to some of our key moments. And Tim, I want to turn things to you first and kind of let you cook, because this was directly tied to your classroom. So take it away. How does this capture the hero's journey so well?
Well, one of the things that I was going to say about it, and Chris, I didn't mean to interrupt you earlier. I thought that you had paused for that
All good.
was it encompasses the hero's journey so well because it makes the hero's journey so applicable to every person's life, because there are three separate characters that are legitimately going through a hero's journey in this particular piece. And I think about I try to tell my students, the reason why we love the hero's journey so much is because we're actually the heroes in our own journey every single day. Every day there's a call to adventure and it's your alarm clock. And every day there's a refusal of that call when you press snooze. And you actually have to literally cross a threshold, like as you go out into the world. And of course, in Bluey, as Bingo, is about to start her journey, she crosses the threshold of her door. And so when I'm looking at all of these kind of moments here, I'm like, oh, this is as clear as it comes. I mean, this is so easy to teach for kids.
Hmm.
But also it's great because there are those layers of foreshadowing that are in there. Like when it says, oh, and you meet friends along the way. And the friend warns of the magpie, but she also asks Bandit about the, hey, are you ready for tomorrow? And Bandit's like, you know, that foreshadows when she gets to her destination, she's going to find out that Bandit's going to be traveling. Um, and so I'm like, oh my word, I could do foreshadowing. I could do the hero's journey. And the
Mhm.
fact that bingo help, um, and the one who's wise in relation to helping the mom go face paint is such a big deal to me because it's a kid. It's a kid who takes the vulnerability of an adult, and she gives the advice and the encouragement to get that adult to go to the call to adventure and do just fine. And so all of these layers, I'm like, man, this is incredible. And then to watch Bandit go through his, you know, desire to provide for his family, but not be away for so long. All of that encompasses itself, and I'm like, yeah, this is great. And the magpie stories in there that's in there is cool because they face their fears and they do it and whatnot. But when I think about the hero's journey as a whole, complexity of how it's layered, I'm like, oh, as a teacher, I can do so much with this particular episode in relation to symbolism, foreshadowing, and the stages of the hero's journey.
Yeah, that's absolutely perfect. Kris, are there any particular stages of that journey that jump out to you particularly strong in this episode?
Yeah, totally. I mean, so we probably don't get all the way through the hero's journey. Like we kind of get as far as the road back, really. Um, we won't see the way this will continue to impact like Bingo or her world once she returns. But throughout the journey, um, it's just so moving. I think for me, the call to adventure is where I like most lean in and I get excited about this episode as it begins. Like you can see what Chili is setting up, but the particular type of hero they set Bingo up for being is one that I is akin to some of my favorites. Like Harry Potter is very special to me, but first,
Mm.
my first hero was Bilbo.
Yep.
He's the first person that I saw resist the call and then step over the threshold. And unlike some of the other heroes you might see, like a Harry Potter, who are discontent in their world and they need to step into this adventure to find something more, Bilbo's quite content. And that's where we find Bingo in this. It's from a sense of comfort and contentedness that these heroes are reluctant. And I love that for Bingo. She's just like cuddled up in her mom's lap. And she doesn't want to go on this adventure, having no idea yet how valuable this will be to her because this is going to be one-on-one time with her dad. This quest is an adventure with her dad who's about to leave for 6 weeks. And it's like,
Yeah.
she could have chosen the comfort of her mom's lap in that moment and just stayed right there and let Bandit run his errand because why not? But she answers the call. Something gets her off the couch. So for me, the importance of the episode is right there in that choice, like any good hero's journey should be, right? It's in that answer of the call. So we can talk
You know,
more about it, but that's it for me.
Yeah,
Chris,
I will. Go ahead, Tim.
Oh, sorry, Randy. Chris, I wanted to just interject here real quick because I think that one of the things that we experience as a culture with children is kids liking to stay in their comfort zones a lot. I want to be in the comfort zone of my video games, or I want to, not do hard things pretty consistently. And here we have a episode that is like, hey, even if you are comfortable, go do something, go do something else, and it might be significantly enriching for you. And it's kind of searching for that value in the unknown that becomes the hero's journey that she gets to live out in that day. And that's encouraging, especially when you can get little kids to think about that and not just adults who are like, well, I guess I have to move across the country now.
Mhm.
I wish I could say that this episode inspired me to take my job across the country, and I'd probably be lying if I said that, but it'd be cool if I could say so.
Yeah, no, Tim, I absolutely love that. And I was just gonna kind of jump in to talk about how layered this story is. Like, Kris, you brought up one question that I'm really curious about that I think is debatable is like how many stages of the journey do we get through? Certainly a departure, certainly an initiation. And then we could kind of debate where that line is between the initiation and the return. We certainly get a version of it. We do get this montage at the end. We get a passage of time and a reunion. You could argue there is some sort of application of those lessons learned along the voyage in this return back to normal life that the hero has to go through. I was talking about symbolic deaths earlier. But like all these notions that exist within the mono myth of like like atonement with the father, of having to be reborn in some way. We do kind of get like a mini version of Bingo doing that. If we got like the sign sized, 30-minute episode, we could potentially see that play out
Yeah.
in even greater and deeper detail.
Mm.
But another layer I love of this, I know Tim already shouted out like we've got separate journeys going on. I found myself asking the question of like, who is, the goddess sort of character in the story, if we're going for like Joseph Campbell monomyth vibes. And there's not just one answer to that question. Um, I think maybe the best answer might be that Bingo herself, who is the main hero of our story, is also the one offering that advice. But Mackenzie's mom has her moments. She has her doubts, but she also has her advice and her confidence. When she poses that question to Bingo and gets wisdom in return, um, especially after watching this a few times in rapid succession, um, I don't feel like she was really choosing to quit her responsibility face
No.
painting.
No. She was
I
leading Bingo to the lesson.
yeah, we got like this
Yes.
moment of very clever wisdom from her, like very humble, clever wisdom. So I love the idea that this notion of a goddess, which does not have to be literally a goddess, and it does not have to be a concrete thing, is embodied in so many characters. On a show that is great at doing this kind of character, the sage wisdom we so often get from Chile, Calypso, who we debated on this very podcast, might literally be a magical being. It fits Bluey perfectly.
Fantastic. Grateful we got to get into all of that, but let's get
Mhm.
into some more of examples of the hero's journey that we love so much. I've already shouted out a few of mine, but Tim, we'll go back to you, man. What are some examples of your favorite hero's journeys, or what other pop culture was on your mind as you were watching this episode?
Whenever I think about the hero's journey, I actually just finished Harry Potter, like the entire series with my oldest daughter. So,
Nice.
Harry Potter is what I was thinking about, and I didn't even watch him grow up the entire way through. And so whenever I think about Bluey, I'm like, okay, what are my moments of the hero's journey? And then I was thinking about it in relation to Harry Potter. Of course, Star Wars is the classic, monument there, and things like that. But um, when I think about Bluey and I think about what it's trying to convey to about Bingo being on the hero's journey, just kind of tying it back to Bluey as I think about other elements of pop culture and whatnot. I think that when I watch when I read Harry Potter with my kids, or when I watch Star Wars with my kids, I always picture those things being in a far off land, right? Like
Yeah.
Hogwarts could be around, but it's not around. I'm not on Tatooine or anything like that. When I watch Bluey, I'm like, tomorrow I get to wake up and I get to be the hero in my own journey. And Kris, you said it really, really well when you talked about your trip to Detroit. During the summer, I travel a lot, like a lot, and I don't love it. But Bluey kind of like this episode inspires me to remember why I have to do that and how I can teach my kids how to know why I have to do that, to the point where it can then empower my kids to be independent, knowing that dad is trying to support an independent family. And so all of that ties in with how I work with my kids. We've watched the Star Wars films together. We've read the Harry Potters together. And we watched the Bluey together, and we can connect it all together as we talk about it.
Wonderful. So many great examples
Mhm.
there. Yeah, and I'm sure your kids are inspired, man.
Oh, one other thing
Easily.
about the hero's journey too, about pop culture is, and I told this to my boys because my two oldest boys recently watched Wednesday over Christmas break.
Mhm.
Um, and Wednesday season 1, I could tell you everything that was going to happen because it's just the hero's journey, like to a T. And so I told the boys, I'm like, if you know this stuff, you can still enjoy all of what's going on, even though you know it. And I think the Bluey episode embodies that perfectly because the episode is narrated as the hero's journey.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's narrated as the quest, and it's still absolutely delicious. And so
It's
I'm
still
trying to tell the
working.
guys,
Yeah.
that's right. And I'm like, guys, this is why it's okay to know these things.
Yeah.
I knew who the villain in Wednesday was the moment they mentioned his name, because I know the strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And I was like, go find the nicest character, and there's your villain. And they're like, wow, that doesn't ruin the show for you. I'm like, no, it makes it better.
Mm.
And so because of that, it's nice to kind of have that moment where it's like, okay, I can watch an episode of Bluey with you and prove to you that even if you know exactly what's going on, it's still pretty awesome.
Dude, I love that take. That's something I think we've talked
Yeah.
about here on this podcast before. I think when folks are working the craft really well, you can kind of see where it's going. That makes it all the more rewarding. The same way your ear can tell the way a musical
Yeah.
phrase is going to resolve, even if you've never heard that song before. It's because they're playing music well. There's a
Yeah.
way it should go. And so, yeah, I think it only enriches it when you can kind of follow along the expected journey, the expected beats. What about you, Randy?
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback right on that point. I think you can know these steps, right? And I think the two most important things to remember are, number one, it's not a solid story structure that has to follow in one exact pattern every single time it's used, right? These are patterns to help us explore our stories, explore what connects us in those stories. And also, even if there are steps we can label that are consistent, it doesn't mean that they aren't still unique. So I'm going to turn back to our guy Bilbo you were talking about a little while ago, Kris. The Hobbit is my absolute favorite refusal of the call
Mm-hmm.
ever anywhere else. It's the most fun I think anyone's ever had with that concept. Man, like those opening pages of The Hobbit, this unexpected party, Bilbo is protesting so hard with so much intensity. His house guests are so presumptuous and rude, at least by Hobbit standards. Yet, throughout the entire chapter, he can't resist talking to Gandalf. He's leaning in at the stories. He's feeling the songs. His heart and his soul are pulling him towards it. And I don't know if I've read a more intricate like exploration of that, right? Like obviously I love Star Wars, but like I want to be a starfighter, but I can't. Oh, my
Yeah.
aunt and uncle are dead. Let's go. It doesn't have the same sort of nuance to it as you get from a Hobbit. And the one other one I wanted to mention, which I think is even more appropriate than when I wrote it down in my notes, the way we've been talking about the layers of meaning, the layers of journeys, the layers of mentors. Pixar's Up
Oh yeah.
is a movie that I absolutely love. Like, we certainly have the very conventional main journey of the home taking flight, this new relationship forming, but it's nestled within this lifetime adventure metaphor for our central character and his wife, and the whole host of tragedies they fought throughout their lives while still building a beautiful life together. Um, and he's got one more step in the journey. The fact that these journeys repeat, they are cyclical, they're adventures within adventures, and each step prepares us for the next one, and he can awaken something new. So, yeah, I was thinking about Up a lot because, man, those first moments are tough, but they're and bittersweet, but they're so beautiful, and it's one of the best movies ever made.
Man, wonderful. So well said. And I'm glad you spent so much time on Bilbo.
Yeah.
It's the only thing the film's got right.
Yes.
Really, that dance he's doing with himself internally
Mhm.
is actually portrayed in the films pretty well, despite nothing else being successful about them. Yeah, really great. I feel the same way. You guys nailed kind of what was on top of mind for me. Tim, I read Harry Potter when I was in the 6th grade. At the time I picked it up, I was 11 years old, and 3 books existed.
Mhm.
And then Harry
Same
aged.
here.
Harry aged with me, right? So
Yep.
Harry was turning 14, so was I. Harry was turning 15, and so was I. And each year next book would come out, and I'd get it on my birthday, and that's a story that will forever just mean the world to me. It's a story that I've already shared with my daughter. She's read through the first 4 books. We feel the 5th book is an extreme escalation in the maturity and the darkness.
Sure.
Yes.
Overall,
6. Oh yeah.
there's just less there to pull you back up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the themes are already fairly mature from the first story, but there's less to buoy you. There's less childlike wonder to buoy you through those 5th and 6th
Oh
books.
yeah.
So, anywho, very top of mind was Harry. Very top of me was Bilbo, because I found that Bingo was this Bilbo type character who was content in her life, not a Luke Skywalker itching for adventure, and not a Harry who, while Harry self-doubts and he certainly resists, I can't be a wizard. He definitely is also happy to leave his life and step
For
into
sure.
something new, right?
Yeah.
So I love that Bilbo was very much top of mind for me as I watched Bingo step out onto her journey. And then separately, there's a book that we love in our household. It's fairly new in the last 3 or 5 years. I think 2 of a planned 3-book series have been published so far. The first in the series is called Greenwild. This is young adult literature. It centers on a young woman named Daisy who goes through that secret door and finds herself in a magical world. She finds that there's more to her than she realized. She is a botanist and has green magic, something that she inherited from her mother. And the way that story unfolds is just so beautiful. But that's the kind of hero's journey that Kennedy has been introduced first in her life. Like, that's Daisy's going to be her Harry or her Bilbo.
Yeah.
In the same way, there's another book, series of books called The Witchlings that features a female protagonist named Seven. And I was thinking of those 2 characters big time as I was watching this tonight, and I'm weeping. For some reason, I was just like ready to cry watching this episode. So as soon as Chili began,
That's because you're the dad of a girl.
dude, as soon as
I'm
I
the same
just
way.
love stories. I love stories and what they mean to us as human beings, how they shape us. Like, the maths and the sciences are very, very important, but it's our ability to tell stories that make us human,
For
right?
sure.
And so when Chili
Oh,
began,
Captain, my Captain.
my guy, when Chili began to lay out this thing to Bluey, I just started to weep because I was, oh man, stories rule. I love stories so much. And so again, I was thinking of Kennedy's 2 favorite heroes because I hope to be able to refer back to them the next time we watch this episode together.
Well, let me toss one other one out there, and I didn't even think about this as I was considering this question, but I am now. And that is, I recently went through the Wing Feather saga with my kids.
Mm.
And if you haven't read that, it's honestly so good. And there's enough of a different type of character to go around. So if you need a hero for your boyish boy, there's a hero for him. If you need a hero for your young lady, there's a hero for her. If you need your hero for your stubborn jerk of a child, right? And or the child that you have that can act like the stubborn jerk, right? There's a hero for him too.
Cool.
And so I don't know if you ever heard of that series, but they're very good, and they're really funny. Well, the first one's significantly funny. They get more and more serious as you go through. But just tossing it out there.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at it now. I'm going to keep this bookmarked. I love that.
Beautiful. Well, we love making connections. We also all love Bluey. And I love a binge. I love arranging pieces together. I've arranged Bluey episodes together in the past that I think explores similar themes. So I just wanted to ask each of you, do you have an episode or 2 in mind that you think would pair nicely with Curry Quest, like a fine wine, to really bring us to a beautiful thematic place in our viewing? Tim, take us into the Garden of English. What's going to enhance our experience?
So the one that I would pair this with, I'd actually pair it with 2. One just for the
Perfect.
visuals, but another one because of the full-on content. So I would want to pair this with Sleepy Time. And the reason why is just for that, like having to overcome that moment of growing up when you got to sleep by yourself, but also recognizing that they're still kids. And so I really think that's a nice way to kind of like picture the struggles of the parent and the child, right? I mean, that's what happens here, to the point where like my wife will just sit there and cry every time she watches it, and I I'll get emotional too. I'm not
Yeah.
opposed to crying. Don't get the wrong idea, but I don't get as emotional as my wife does in that episode. So sleeping time is one that I would pair with it, just because once again we have the kind of struggles of the child and the adult and this process of maturation and having to do it even if you don't necessarily want to. And so that's the first one. The second one, just for the visual kind of elements of like finding a course and the nature of like obstructions that get in the way, but still having to work through it, is our silent episode of Bluey, Rain.
Beautiful.
And so those would be the ones that I would pick.
Yeah, those are
Great
yeah,
choices.
absolutely stellar picks. I can already see this viewing coming together. Kris, can you add to our list and make it even fuller?
Yeah, I'm gonna take us outside of the immediate healer family.
Beautiful.
I'm gonna turn to 2 episodes we've already managed to talk about tonight.
Sure.
But I was very much thinking of both Army and Cricket.
Beautiful.
Similarly narrated episodes. You've got this overarching thing happening where you're being told a story in the background that's helping lead you through the journey you're watching unfold in the episode. In the Cricket, we're exploring themes of bravery and responsibility and growing up and sort of finding something new in yourself. And so, yeah, I think that's a perfect companion. And then in Cricket too, you get these parallel journeys as you're watching Rusty go through his journey of polishing his cricket game, and you're hearing all about how it was that he learned this skill or that skill to overcome each thing we were watching the parents try to throw at him in the cricket game that's unfolding. We're hearing about how much of that stuff is being influenced by this dad who's trying to be a
Yeah.
dad from a great distance. And he's trying to still
Mhm.
have a positive impact on his son's life. And you can see that he's succeeding at that. But you can see how challenging it is for both of them. It's simultaneously heartbreaking and really encouraging because there's so much beauty in what they're able to achieve as a family. But you are so aware as a real mature adult of how challenging that would be. And so, yeah, I think Cricket is a great companion to this one as well for that parallel parent-child thing that's happening. I got one more.
Please.
It's camping, just because similarly we've got this growth for Bluey. She's on an adventure and she's gonna have to deal with that, albeit temporary, that separation, just like Bingo and Bandit. She doesn't know that many years later they'll reunite, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, you are nailing this one. I'm really pleased with this question. I've got several I still want to say. I'm going to make 2 of them really quick mentions, so I can talk about the other ones more. One I would add to the list would be Rug Island,
Love
in
that.
which Bandit has to reconnect with his childhood. He gets invited to this imaginary island for children only, but he has to be going off to work. I think that would pair nicely with this. I'm going to quickly shout out Space, when Mackenzie desperately needs to explore his darkest feelings. He needs to escape off into this black hole and find out what's on the other side so he can get in touch with himself. Everyone around him wants to protect him and keep him safe. They are doing their best for him, but that's not what he needs in that moment. He needs to face that fear. I've got to throw Flat Pack on there, an episode of Bluey that takes us through the evolution of life on this planet. It imbues Bandit and Chili with godly powers, all while they're putting together a swing from IKEA or whatever. The girls are putting this epic nature on it. And that is the most tear-jerking episode of Bluey for me. So to see like the end of that journey, if you want to see the return. And I would show some restraint, but I talked so much about layering and repetition today. I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out Copycat. When Bluey and Bandit attempt to save a bird, they get it to the vet, but the bird does not make it, and Bluey's processing this loss, and she processes it by recreating the entire series of events through play. And when Chili offers to have the bird live at the end of the game, Bluey says, no, it has to die. It has to be this way. I have to accept it. So I think we put together a pretty stellar view list. I think I might have to turn this into a real lesson plan at some point.
I was
You
gonna
had me with
say,
Rhode
I told
Island.
yeah. I told my kids earlier today, I need to reach out to the producers of Bluey and tell them that we need to build an English curriculum with their show, and it would sell for high school kids, and it would sell miraculously, and it would be awesome.
Totally.
Amen.
And now imagine, hold on, just think about this. Also imagine, right, watching all of these Bluey episodes and then reading The Catcher in the Rye.
Right.
Or imagine watching
Mhm.
all of these Bluey episodes and then reading Peter Pan.
Mhm.
Like you can't make this stuff up. This would be the most incredible. People would be like, you got to take English with Mr. Lane. You got to take English with Mr. Freitas because it's Bluey and Peter Pan, or it's Bluey and Holden. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, it'd be incredible.
Absolutely.
Would love a conversation between Bluey and Holden. Just if I could dream
Oh.
up one fictional conversation, that would be hilarious.
Next episode, we'll do Catcher in the Rye. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Yeah, especially because
and Toy Story 3.
Not every high school student is there at that point where they can understand exactly what that innocence is that Holden sees slipping away. Some of them can. But yeah, so to have that connection to something so familiar from childhood would be great. Yeah. Because these kids are all becoming teenagers now, like you said, Tim. So I can just picture the three of us shark tanking this one. Well, guys, we took this episode of television. We really broke it down. We compared it to the monomyth, to the hero's journey. We got deep into our own hearts and souls. But we can't wrap up here tonight without going through a classic Media Lit extra credit section. Now, in this section, we have some different bits that we love to dip into from time to time. We have some special awards, and I was very excited to brush off one of my favorite very special Media Lit awards that we have not had a chance to talk about recently, and that is none other than the Calypso Spirit Guide Award. This is an award that we will also award to non-Bluey properties. Simply to celebrate what it means to have a great spiritual role model and mentor, much like Calypso. Now, I think we have well established that this episode is just teeming with great candidates for this award. Who would be your personal spirit guide who could channel their inner shaman and gradually nudge someone in a positive direction? Who takes the crown for you, Timothy Freitas?
For me, it's Mackenzie's mom.
Yes.
And the reason why is because she uses her own circumstance to teach Bingo. Bingo changes. She reprimands her own son when her own son lets the cat out of the bag for something that Bandit was trying to hide. But her son doesn't feel super shameful about it. You know, she was just like, oh, I guess it is what it is. But it also forced that moment to bring what Bandit was struggling with to come to fruition, or to at least come out. And then she also helped them with the face paint on the back their next time through with the magpie. And then she went and she actually fulfilled her responsibilities. And I've always watched this episode thinking that she was actually trepidatious about becoming the face painter. I feel like that was because she didn't think that Mackenzie's face paint came out well. And she was like, oh, crud, should I really even do this? And then she was like, no, I'm going to buckle down and I'm going to do it. And then Bingo gets to channel her little inner shaman as well. And is like, yeah, you can do it. Because who else is going to, don't ruin the fun for the kids just because you're an adult who has confidence problems, right? And so that whole scene right there, but it was instigated by Mackenzie's mom. So that's the.
Yeah, people who have the patience to do some proper face painting for children like that, they deserve all the credit in the world. Parents out there, I recently attended a kid's birthday party, and they had a face painter present, and maybe this was only novel to me, but instead of making all of the kids stand in a line and get antsy, they just wrote a number on everyone's hand and called them over when it was time from play, and I was like,
okay,
this is smart. Yeah. No,
That
Mackenzie's
was a win.
mom. It's the perfect pick. I think I even said she might literally be a goddess. So certainly
Yeah.
a perfect spirit guide. Kris, who takes the cake for you?
Normally I would challenge myself to turn to somebody else for the sake of deepening the discussion, but it is Mackenzie's mom. It's Mackenzie's mom because of everything that Timm just laid out. Yeah, of course, she quite literally nudges Bingo in the right direction here, but the vulnerability with which she does it is what makes her such a sage wisdom to me, right? She doesn't directly give the guidance. Timm, you mentioned she uses her own circumstance, but first that means she has to be in touch with that. She has to actually be in touch with the fact that she feels insecure about her ability to be the face painter at this big event, but also in touch with it enough to be able to leverage that. Like, she relates to that insecurity in a healthy way, obviously, because she's able to leverage it to bring Bingo around to wisdom. And yet she still benefits then from the encouragement from Bingo, right? Bingo does give
Yeah.
her real wisdom from which she can learn, and it allows her to then take further action. But I love that sense of like that spirit guide should be somebody who's willing to look inward. Like, you don't want a spirit guide who's only ever looking outward and giving advice to people about the way they think they ought to approach their own problems. You can only effectively, empathetically provide wisdom when you're also constantly looking inward.
Yeah.
Looking inward with a certain amount of healthy processing, which she was all about here. It's interesting to me to have to call her Mackenzie's mom. These parents are some of the few side characters who don't get a name. I made sure I did my homework, and I was desperate to make sure neither Mackenzie's dad nor Mackenzie's mom have a proper name. They're just like any kids relate to their friends' parents. They don't have names. They're just Mackenzie's mom and Mackenzie's
Yeah.
dad. So yeah, I don't know that I could fake it enough to call out anybody else here who's more deserving of this award this episode than Mackenzie's mom.
Yeah, I think you both said this perfectly. I think that is it's the correct answer. Honorable mention to Bingo, of course, for all the reasons you stated. Even like the display of strength she's able to show her dad on the return trip home. Um, Listen, we love Bingo. She's a wonderful person, or a wonderful canine, I suppose I should say. Uh, but she's emotional. Things hurt her. She feels her feelings very hard. And you saw that look on Bandit's face. I think he was expecting an emotional breakdown this whole walk home. And that's not what he got. He got Bingo showcasing her signature strength. But I'm gonna give mine to the OG, Chili herself.
Yeah, nice.
I like to imagine what the untold story is here. And I'm of two minds when it gets down to the fact that they still haven't told Bingo about this trip. I think part of it is a practical decision, perhaps even a smart decision. Maybe forcing Bingo to dread this for like weeks is not the right play. I don't think they've done anything wrong necessarily by withholding this information. At the same time, it's like dinner time's coming up the night before. I'm wondering if our guy Bandit needed a little nudge from the master, Chili.
Oh,
You know, like, hey,
yeah.
Mackenzie's mom's practicing her face paint. You guys go for a walk. You guys have a good time. You got to break it. We'll get Bluey out of the picture so she can't hype things up the way she does. So I almost wonder if she needed that nudge, you know? Um, I will say this. Can someone please send Chili some rainbow yarn? That's a product that exists
That's
in
a
the
real
world.
thing. And multicolor yarn is a
Yeah.
real thing. Yes.
Although
Self-patterning is what you want. Self-patterning yarn.
that being said, I have to assume she knows that, and I feel like this was a lesson, and like nothing comes easy, right? She wants to teach Bluey this skill of transitioning. I don't know the correct language. I have not practiced the art of crochet yet. I should. But I imagine it sounds like there's some skill involved with making that color switch on the fly. So
Yeah.
always teaching, always spirit guiding is Chili.
Great call out, Randy. I love what you identified there. I think you're probably right. Maybe that walk home was probably that moment that Bandit was going to finally tear the Band-Aid. I'm sure he was dreading it the whole walk there, hoping nobody's going to say anything so he can be the one to do it. But I think you're right. That walk home was Chili's setup for him to have that conversation. Brilliant.
Mm.
Okay. That does it for our Calypso Spirit Guide Award, but we're not done with the extra credit. This is the fun one. podlings at home, you know that we cannot talk about any property without walking away with a little bit of a souvenir. When we do live action film properties or television, we usually will pick a prop from the film itself. But when we talk about animation, we always pick a still frame from the property we've discussed. So tonight, I'll invite you, Tim, and you, Randy, each to pick one still frame from the episode that you would love to have up on your wall. Tim, as our guest, of course, you get to go first.
So my still frame is going to be in that final montage. At the end, the magpie flies into its nest and it feeds its children.
Yep.
And the reason why that's going to be my still frame, as it swoops in with the worm in its mouth to feed the children, is because that is exactly why Bandit is flying to where he's going and flying home where he's going. So it's that symbolic moment of recognition. This is for my family, not only for him, but also for Bingo. And that's what they learned as they went on their kind of converging heroes journeys. So that scene right there does it all for me, especially because the magpie was kind of like the antagonist, but the transformation of the magpie of being the antagonist because it's protecting its children and then providing for its children, and that borderline misunderstanding that's exposed throughout the episode to Bingo is exactly what's going on in their lives. And so that's the scene that does it all for me.
I love that. I love even Bandit's making a mistake trying to protect his family, not sharing the information. The magpie is making a mistake swooping these things that are no danger, but all it's trying to do is protect its family. That's really wonderful, man. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, Randy, follow up to that. What do you got?
I've got so many things here. I've got silly ones. I've got fun ones. I've got thematic ones, but I'm just going to follow my heart. And one that makes it easy for me to tie this back to the hero's journey once again. And to have a hero's journey, we need something to go back home to. We need an ordinary world to escape into this life of adventure. So just give me the tableau of Chili and the girls on the couch crocheting. So cozy together, so comfortable. The little flash of the work in progress. It's a beautiful, comforting scene, and that's going to be mine.
Great pick. I love that. Okay. I'm going to go a bit sillier. I think it matters for the episode, but it also just gives me a chuckle. There's this foreshadowing moment. Bingo will get the idea to have the back of their heads painted frighteningly to startle the magpie, because first she'll turn around early in the episode and be startled by Mackenzie's cheetah face. When he's right there. And that's actually the still that I want. I want Mackenzie's cheetah face and like Bingo's little post startled jump. It's like Bingo's a little like lean back, and you can see Mackenzie doesn't look like Mackenzie should look. He actually looks like his coloring is a blend of his mom and his dad. But it's just cheetah face paint. So that's what I want. I want Mackenzie in his cheetah face paint. He's unrecognizable. He's like one of Mackenzie's siblings or something. And Bingo just a little bit startled by it, because I just love that moment. It's silly. It's fun. Mackenzie looks ridiculous. He's a favorite character of mine. And I do think it is this important foreshadowing. It's that moment that Bingo will recall later when she has her idea to scare the magpies.
So good. And by the way, the cheetah makeup is a bit rough.
Yeah, it's not good.
But the tiger's pretty sick.
The tiger's very sick. There's a big gap between her cheetah and her tiger. Maybe the tiger is more easily defined. In the practice for sure.
One extra kid.
One more kid.
And then that little green gecko, I think it's on Winton. I could be misremembering, but more great artwork. I just had an epiphany while you were talking, Kris. I shouted out the episode Space earlier. So when Mackenzie does this artless spilling of the beans to Bingo about what's going on with her dad, that's believable. It's just like innocent mistake by a kid, not fully realizing how much damage they might do with how they're doing something. I don't think he has ill intent, but I was like, ooh, is this like partly a manifestation of his abandonment issues? Like he heard that conversation, and even though it's not his dad, it sounded so scary to him. he's got to like voice it out into the world, like he's looking for some echoes back.
Whoa,
So
that's great.
I'm suddenly reading that as foreshadowing. So there you go.
Excellent.
He's going to be gone for ages. Well, Kris, somehow we finished our journey and our adventure, and we've done it. That was incredible. Timm, I want to thank you so much, not just for coming back on the podcast once again, not just for always kindly sharing our chats with all of the great folks who follow you over at the Garden of English, including several of my coworkers who really appreciate the stuff and the products that you put out into the world. I want to thank you for picking Bluey because it's something that we've bonded over. And I enjoy our little brotherhood of dads here. It always brings me great joy to have these conversations together. You are incredible. Thank you so much.
Yeah, same from me, Timm. So great to have you back on the podcast, man. You always bring the goods from the literary perspective, but in the feels too. You really meet the vibe of the pod. And to Randy's point, you are certainly part of our dad core. Thank you for joining us.
Well,
As you go out, make sure you give us your socials. Tell the folks in the world where to find you and plug any work you got going on.
yeah. So you can find me at thegardenofenglish.com. You can search The Garden of English on YouTube, and you'll get a lot of my more like well-produced videos that I make with my wife and things like that. We have some great review products for students and teachers called Lit Support and Lang Support. So any students or teachers who teach AP Lit or AP Lang, there's really a lot of good stuff in there. Like if students are like, hey, I want to buy like a 5 steps to a 5, but they don't want to read 5 steps to a 5. Well, I have something that could be most likely just as effective, and it's all video based. And so you can do that for Lit or for Lang or any of those types of like kind of review books, Princeton Review, stuff like that. And it's probably cheaper too, to be honest with you. Might not be, but it probably is. I don't know. I didn't really look that part up, but yeah, you can catch us on the Garden of English at Instagram as well. Just search the Garden of English and you'll find either me or my wife. There's no doubt about it. And I actually really appreciate the invitation to be on here and whatnot. And as we were going through this episode, I was like, oh, what are we going to do next? And I'm like, we got to do Doug or Are Real Monsters? Maybe even Hey Arnold. I don't know. Maybe,
Sounds like
maybe
It sounds like a Nickelodeon episode is what it is.
yeah, right. Or maybe we just picked out our next 3 episodes, right?
Yeah, or like
as-
maybe compose a little like trilogy, like
Yeah.
across the properties.
An ultimate
Yeah.
watch night.
Yeah, I don't know. And maybe we have Tossing Rocco's Modern Life in there. Who knows? But nonetheless, I was thinking about these things, and I'm like, man, these cartoons were just so good. And no matter what I watch with my kids nowadays, I'm like, besides Bluey, none of them really do it for me, I guess, for the lack of a better term. So
Yeah.
I appreciate the invitation that we can kind of be geeks about this and dads about this at the same time. It's pretty fun.
Amen.
All right. Well, that does it for tonight's episode. Podlings, thank you as always for listening. But it doesn't end here. You can find Media Lit all over the socials, anywhere you find stuff like this, be it Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter. Look out for Media Lit. Just search media/lit podcast anywhere on the internet, and you're going to find all the places that our conversations are happening. Don't sleep on the YouTube, people. Video content is a big part of what we're doing in season 3. Most importantly, check out the website. It's linked in all of our episode descriptions and across all of those socials. That's where you'll find links to past episodes. We've got a deep catalog at this point. We're at nearly 90 episodes, just a little way into our 3rd season. And as we mentioned at the beginning of the pod, we would love to be in conversation. Our format is a guest-based format, and our guests often assign us the homework that informs the conversation. We welcome you to do the same, so please do email us at media.slash.lit@gmail.com. We cannot wait to hear from you.
Kris, thank you so much for taking on that responsibility, as you always do. But listen, forget Media Lit for a second. Where else can folks find you, the beautiful sound of your voice, and your other podcasts?
Yeah, we got a couple of podcasts going on, right? So Randy and I also get to host Podelay over at thepopbreak.com. This is the Beck Hansen Appreciation Podcast, Randy's very favorite artist. He's been doing wonderful music coverage over for the Pop Break now, a couple of podcasts deep, and he finally got his turn to assign the artist to his co-host Justin Mancini, and he was kind enough to invite me in as a third chair. And so month over month on thepopbreak.com, we are going deep on the full discography of Beck. Catch us on thepopbreak.com, where I'm also the co-host of the Batman by the Numbers podcast. Myself and Dan Cohen do a once-a-month deep dive on the Dark Knight in all things DC. This year, it's all about the different eras of Batman. So you'll find starting in January conversations around the 66 era and the Burton era, and eventually we'll get to the Schumacher era and all the way down until we finally come to the present day. And so if you love Batman, check us out once a month on Batman by the Numbers. Aside from those things, I'm an actor and a voice actor, a father and a husband. You can catch me doing those things on Instagram and Blue Sky at Kris_Ingersoll. And that's Kris spelled like Kringle.
Kris, you are incredible. Thank you for shouting out all that stuff and giving me a nice break there. Can't express how thrilled I am that you've joined us over on Podolay. I also want to shout out just the popbreak.com website. Check out some of my writing over there. I recently covered A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I anticipate being back for the new season of House of the Dragon, covering those episodes for the Pop Break. And don't just show up for our standard Media Lit episodes. Be sure to watch our monthly Remedial Rewatch Community 101 episodes as we rewatch every episode of Community with our good friend Tyler McCarthy. We're about to wrap up season 3. We're going to reflect on the experience so far and then get to those remaining seasons. It's going to be a blast. As for my individual socials, the fastest way to find me is through Media Lit. Where you find Media Lit, you will find me. And hey, I would love your support and your follows as well. But most importantly, follow the pod and reach out. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for listening. And we hope we'll see you next time. It's got to be done.
Nice.